Championship drag racing. Of speed and quick times, and none personify that better than the racer in the near lane, the four-time world champion Don the Snake Prudhomme. On this run, Prudhomme established both ends of the new national record for funny cars, 5.92 seconds at a speed of over 247 miles an hour. And it all took place right here at Gainesville Raceway in Gainesville, Florida. You normally think of Gainesville as the home of the University of Florida, but this week all eyes were on the racetrack as Jeb Allen in qualifying established the quickest elapsed time in history. In fact, for the second time in history, all 16 Top Fuel qualifiers were under the magic 6-second mark. In funny cars, 4 cars below 6 seconds, headed by Prudhomme's brilliant 5.92. In the pits, my cohort Steve Evans to tell us why it happened.
Thank you, Dave. Never have Gatornationals fans been treated to such a record-busting weekend. 5 of 6 national records in the pro categories have been shattered, including the Top Fuel mark set clear back in 1975. Why such quick elapsed times? Why such tremendous speeds? We asked those very questions of some top pro drivers.
Well, for one thing, it's probably the best track that we've all run on in about 5 years. The last time we had track conditions like this was Ontario, and now out here in Florida at Gainesville, this track's tremendous. It's just a tremendous traction, and the air is good here.
I think it's the greatest racetrack I've ever seen. It probably will be the greatest race we'll ever see, and the preparation is the finest.
Well, Steve, we won the race here last year and recorded the quickest time we ever run on one of the best racetracks in the world, I think. You know, we run 5.62 quicker than anybody has ever done, and so that tells the story right there about the track conditions. Today, the track is probably just as good or better than it was on Thursday when we made that run.
And for Jeb, the track today must be good. The rules call for a backup of his 5.62 second elapsed time within 1% to put it into the record book. In the first round of racing earlier, it was Jeb Allen against Frank Bradley. A close race off the starting line, and at the finish line, quite an upset as Frank Bradley defeated Jeb Allen. 5.79 seconds was the elapsed time. Look how close it was at the finish, 5.80 for Jeb Allen. Steve's with Jeb right now.
Jeb Allen, I know you're disappointed, certainly, with the first-round loss. What caused the car to slow down from the blistering pace of qualifying?
Well, Steve, it shook real bad on that run, and I had to short shift it. It started to shake like I've had shake before, and, you know, sometimes your safety is better than winning any drag race. We're not really, I mean, I'm disappointed, yeah, but I tried my best, you know, and we're racers, and we lost.
Jeb Allen out of competition, but still a marvelous 5.62 second elapsed time. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and records have been falling here at the Gatornationals. A record purse, crowd, and, of course, the records on the track. We'll be back with more Gatornationals action in just a moment. Looking like a modern-day astronaut as he suits up for his next race in Top Fuel Eliminator. Butch Osmond is a far cry from a drag racer of years gone by. Steve takes a look back.
In just 3 decades, drag racing has progressed from the early 30s street-driven hot rods, now prized by collectors, to 240-mile-an-hour, 5-second bullets. From dusty, abandoned airstrips to million-dollar racing complexes and sophisticated electronics. 1981 marks the 30th anniversary of the National Hot Rod Association, founded and still captained by this man, Wally Parks. Wally, back in 51, 250 miles an hour would have sounded ridiculous to you.
Back in 51, 100 sounded ridiculous. I don't think that we ever anticipated there would be speeds or vehicles or the type of activity that we have today. When we formed it in 51, none of this was in anybody's dream or ambition.
And the car has always been the glue, really, the automobile.
No question about it. Everybody that's involved is in there because he loves the activity. He wants to build a better vehicle, one that looks better, one that runs better, performs better, and is better than his contemporary. And I think that's what keeps it going forward.
What's the projection for the next 30 years?
I think the next 30 years are just starting. We've seen such tremendous advancements. We found that we can't put the brakes on. We have to work hard to just keep up with the progress that's in there. And I think there's no limit to how far the sport can continue to go.
Wally, congratulations on a great 30 years. I've enjoyed being part of it.
Thank you, Steve. We're glad to have you with us.
The standing room only crowd at Gainesville Raceway is glad to be here today, too, as there's no sweeter sound to a drag racing fan than the roar of a 2,000 horsepower nitro-burning engine as the top fuel dragsters get ready for the second round of elimination. 8 drivers remain in competition. Butch Osmond, a new driver for Jim and Allison Lee out of the Plains, Virginia. Frank Bradley, the man that took the measure of the low qualifier in round number 1 racing. Dave Settles, coming back after a couple-of-year retirement with a brand new car. David Pace, driving for the Carroll brothers out of Dallas, Texas. Jody Smart from San Antonio, Texas. Another Texan from Dallas, Richard Tharp. The only 2-time world champion in top fuel racing, Shirley Muldowney. She'll be against a fellow Michigan racer, Connie Coletta. Frank Bradley riding a natural high after that big upset in round number 1 when he defeated the low qualifier and now the quickest man in the history of drag racing, Jeb Allen. But now it is Frank Bradley. Depending on his 2,000 horsepower Milodon racing engine, the super wide rear slick, the long, slender, top fuel dragsters, the kings of the sport of championship drag racing. Jim and Allison Lee, the car owners, Butch Osmond, the driver, against Frank Bradley. And a good lead by Osmond. And a great race in the middle of the course, and Butch Osmond wins it. 5.97 seconds, his speed 239 miles an hour, just a heartbeat behind 6.04, the elapsed time for Frank Bradley. Next on the track from Dallas, Texas, comes Dave Settles. He'd been in retirement a couple of years, opened up his chassis shop. He, in fact, built the car that he is driving today against the Carroll brothers from Dallas also, with David Pace at the wheel. The Carroll brothers date back to the start of drag racing in Texas, and they're here today at this 1981 Gatornationals to try to take the measure of Dave Settles. The motorcycle-type racing wheels on the front of Settles' slender white machine. Here in the near lane, David Pace in the far lane, both drivers with over 2,000 horsepower at their command. A great start for David Pace. Alongside of him is Settles, and something goes wrong with David Pace in the Carroll brothers car, and it is Settles winning and advancing into the semifinals. Elapsed time for Settles, fine 5.89 seconds. His speed 225 miles an hour. The next pair of cars, also from Texas, from San Antonio, comes Jody Smart, one of the rising superstars in the sport of top fuel championship drag racing. His competition, an established great, Richard Tharp, who lives in Dallas, drives the car owned by Paul Candies and Leonard Hughes, the car based in Houma, Louisiana, down in the southern part of the state. Tharp, a former national champion, a former world champion. Jody Smart, his mid-30s, is making a strong run at becoming one of the true greats of the sport. Instead of the motorcycle wheels on front of this super long car of Jody Smart, he decides to use the full disc wheel. A lot of technical innovations in these top fuel dragsters, the kings of the sport of championship drag racing. Both cars approaching the starting line into the light beams across the track that stage them properly, and Richard Tharp with a little bit of a lead over Jody Smart off the starting line, but a close race, and Jody Smart pulls it out in just the last few feet. And we see Richard Tharp having trouble controlling the Candies and Hughes dragster as it apparently is a front tire rolling off on the grassy infield portion of the track. And there you see it on the right front wheel without a tire. Richard Tharp brings the Candies and Hughes car to a safe halt. Let's go to Steve.
The ever-pleasant Jody Smart appears now to be the leader of the Texas Top Fuel Invasion. That was a close one, Jody.
Boy, I mean, that's a drag race, Steve. It's close. I couldn't tell who won.
You won.
Oh, that's great.
Did you see Richard in the shutoff area? He was almost upside down.
The front tires came off of his car. One of them went right over the front of the car, and I thought for a minute he was going to get in front of me, but Richard's one of the greatest handlers, and that's just a lot of years of experience there. You know, he did a hell of a job. Really did.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank y'all.
A very happy Jody Smart is waiting for his crew to take him back to the pits to get ready. Let's us go back and take a look exactly what happened in this run. As you can see, both cars leaving the starting line almost simultaneously. In the middle of the track, it's anybody's race at that point. And as they get closer to the finish line, it is Jody Smart pulling ahead just by inches to beat Richard Tharp, the Candies and Hughes car, to move on to the semifinals. This is the final race of this round in Top Fuel. Shirley Muldowney, she is the only person ever to win a Top Fuel World Championship twice. Racing against Connie Coletta, the owner of a flying service, a longtime drag racer, a Winter Nationals champion way back in the 60s. He's just as active and very competitive today, Connie Coletta. These two drivers have raced each other several times over the past few months, and without fail, it seems to have been Shirley Muldowney on top. She tells us why.
It's team effort. That's really what it is, and we kind of work together. There are no egos in my camp, and they tell me how they want me to drive the car according to the way that we set it up, and it kind of works out good.
As Shirley and Connie come into those staging beams, let's take a look at the Christmas tree starting device. You see at the top of the tree the two lights indicating pre-stage. That means you're getting close to being ready. Then the bottom lights come on. The stage light, that means you are ready. Then one yellow light, and green, if everything's well, you're gone. And it is Shirley Muldowney, and is she gone? She wins this one, 5.74 seconds. Her speed, 250 miles an hour at the end of the quarter mile. And you can see she headed one halfway down the track.
Shirley Muldowney, quickest elapsed time of her entire career, 5:74.
That's it. I had to stop and think for a minute.
Things are getting serious out there.
It ran 250?
Yes, it did.
Oh, I think we're back on the road again.
Well, speed doesn't win drag races, but it does mean something.
Oh, it proves the car's making horsepower. That really proves it. 250, that's the magic mark. That's 6 times now.
6, in fact, more than anybody else. You have been over 250. Who do you race next round, do you know?
No, I really don't watch the pairings. I really don't care who it is over there.
Just take them one at a time.
Yes.
Well, another one bites the dust for Shirley Muldowney.
Shirley, you may not watch the pairings, but we do, and we find that you run against Dave Settles in the semifinals. It'll be Jody Smart against Butch Osmond. Back on the starting line, it's time for pro stock racing. And these are the true factory hot rods. The classic Ford versus Chevrolet battle. And they look somewhat tame, these gasoline-burning cars, but they can be quite a handful, as Larry Peternell in the far lane found out in earlier competition today. Upon leaving the starting line, mechanical failure set in, and the car, a Plymouth Duster, took a dead left-hand turn right into the guardrail. Peternell uninjured in the accident, but the car suffering heavy front-end damage. Larry Peternell out of competition earlier today. It's a real tribute just to make the semi-final round of competition at any NHRA National Championship event, and this Gator Nationals is no exception. Let's meet the 4 drivers that make up the field. Finishing number 3 in the world last season, Frank Iaconio. He'll be racing number 1, Bob Glidden. That's his wife, Etta, the crew chief on the Ford. Pat Busey, the New Jersey-based driver with his Chevrolet, will be going off against the Texan, Lee Shepard, also driving a Chevy.
For a minute here, we haven't received word, so we'll not...
The Ford versus Chevrolet matchup pits Glidden against Iaconio, number 1 against number 3. Glidden, the world champion, and he leaves the line in a great lead for the Ford in the far lane. And Glidden starts to lose control, and it is Iaconio with the upset win. Etta Glidden showing the shock of her husband and the concern for his safety, but she knows now that he is A-OK. He just lost control there in the middle of the course and had to back out of it. It is the upset win for Frank Iaconio over Bob Glidden. Our final matchup, a pair of Chevrolets. Lee Shepard in the far lane, driving the Rare and Morrison special, while here on the tower side, it is Pat Busey. Both drivers taking their time getting into those staging beams. The Camaro of Lee Shepard moves forward. The starter signaling Pat Busey. They're ready and they're gone. It's anybody's race at this point. And Pat Busey begins to pull away, and an upset as Pat Busey defeats the #2 car in the world with an outstanding 8.44 second elapsed time. His speed over 161 miles an hour. The last few feet made all the difference for Pat Busey. Only 0.04 of a second slower was Lee Shepard, but that doesn't count because there you see it, by a half a car length, Pat Busey is into the finish line first. The Canadian fans, as well as the stateside folks, waiting for the finals, as Pat Busey will be matched against Frank Iaconio in an all Chevrolet final. The beat-up and pitted right front wheel of the Candies and Hughes dragster showing the wear and tear as driver Richard Tharp just a few moments ago. You saw it happen when he lost the front tire on that dragster at over 245 miles an hour. The new national record holder, Don Prudhomme, waiting for his next race. In the pit, Steve has had a chance to catch up with Bob and Etta Glidden.
Well, Dave, the hottest working people, I think, in all of drag racing finally get a chance to at least sit down. What'd you do with your bar of soap you had here? Oh, well, I was going to let you clean up before you did this. What happened to Ed? I'm going to ask you because sometimes watching you know more than the driver.
It was very scary. He got in the oil that was down there, and he was going back and forth, and I almost got into the guardrail, and it's very frightening for me standing down there watching him do all this stuff and knowing I can't help.
No chance you guys will take a couple of weeks off or go on a vacation or anything, huh?
Oh, my, no, we've got too much work to do. The truck isn't finished yet.
That's what I thought. They never quit the Gliddens. Maybe that's why 4 times he's won the Pro Stock World title. Thank you, folks. 5, I'm sorry, 5.
The combination of this man putting on his fire safety suit and the sounds you hear tell us that it's time for funny car racing here at the Gatornationals. The plastic-bodied replicas using the drivetrain similar to the Top Fuel dragsters. One of the most popular of all drag racing categories. One of the most popular drivers, Kenny Bernstein. He'll be racing against the man that has established the new national record for funny cars, both elapsed time and miles an hour, Don Prudhomme. Trip Shoemake at the wheel of Johnny Loper's Little Hoss will be going off against the reigning world champion, Raymond Beadle. Gordy Bonin, 2-time Gatornationals champion, will be racing Fuzz Miller, a newcomer out of Austin, Texas. Dale Poldy at the wheel of the famed War Eagle is matched against Dale Armstrong, driving the Speed Racer entry. Kenny Bernstein, one of those cars under 6 seconds in Funny Car Eliminator, recorded a 5.99 second time in round number 1 of racing, but he'll need every bit of that performance and more to beat the man that has set the new national record, Don Prudhomme. He's in the near lane. Kenny Bernstein zeroing in on that quarter mile of asphalt in the left-hand lane. Starter Buster Couch signaling somewhat away from the starting line as both drivers concentrate on the Christmas tree. Bernstein smokes the tire, and Prudhomme crosses the center line. He's out. He's lost. That means Prudhomme has been disqualified. You cannot cross the center line or the outer extremity line. And what a break for Kenny Bernstein. Watch here again as you see Bernstein, the front wheels off the ground, smoking the tires. He's out. That's it. He's lost right at that point. And then Prudhomme gives it away by crossing the center line and disqualifying himself. A tough break for Don Prudhomme.
When it all appeared to be in the bag, the car looked like it made a violent move, Don.
Yeah, it did. It shook real bad. A lot of tire shaking. Just threw me over in the center lane. Nothing I could do about it.
When it shakes that hard, can you even see?
Nah, difficult. Very difficult.
Okay, well, good luck to you on down the tour.
Thank you. Thanks.
A disappointed Don Prudhomme. Records are nice, but nothing matches the ecstasy of the winner's circle. The man that stopped the string of Prudhomme is Raymond Beadle and the Blue Max from Dallas, Texas. One of the most feared funny car racers of all is racing the ever-popular Rip Shoemake at the wheel of Johnny Loper's Little Hoss. The engines in these cars very similar to the top fuel dragsters, utilizing the aluminum racing engines with superchargers and fuel injectors. Johnny Loper, a longtime drag racer out of the Phoenix area, has had Trip Shoemake as his driver for a number of years. Raymond Beadle, part of that Texas contingent that has done so well here at the Gatornationals. Side by side they are at the middle of the course. And it is an upset as Trip Shoemake wins it. 6.27 seconds elapsed time. A far cry from some of the fives that we have been seeing earlier at this event. Raymond Beadle slowing to a 6:31, just 0.04 of a second apart. But it really doesn't matter what the times are, how quick or how slow. It's who gets to the winners or to the finish line first. And in this case, it is Trip Shoemake by a car length.
Trip Shoemake, one of the most animate, bouncy drivers in all of drag racing. I think that's the first time you ever beat the Blue Max, isn't it?
I beat him in Ontario a couple years ago, but nothing like this. Boy, it was wheel to wheel. Got down there, and that's so bitchin' beat like 220 and see his fender there. Oh, it's nice. Well, I'm telling you. All of a sudden, I just put like a length on him, and he's tough, though. I mean,
you know, even though, Trip, you defeated the Blue Max, it's going to take better elapsed times than you're running to win this race, or a lot of luck.
well, I've been pretty consistent. I don't know what I ran that time.
In the 20s.
20. Well, we shook pretty hard, but we ran a 10 and 11, a 14 and a 15 before that. So even though there's like, when you're running 590, he's right on the edge of smoking the tires. And so far we haven't smoked the tires. We just got to do a little clutch work, and we'll find it.
Well, the big guys are falling like flies, and you got to love that.
Well, as short as I am, everybody's a big guy to me.
Trip Shoemake.
Always with a quip, Trip Shoemake, the driver for Johnny Loper. The standing room only crowd is standing at this point, as there's nothing more exciting in championship drag racing than the nitro-burning funny cars. This is Gordy Bonnin. He's won this race twice, but he's always done it in the odd-numbered years, 1977, 1979, and he hopes that string will hold true for 1981. He's racing against Fuzz Miller, a relative newcomer out of Austin, Texas. Fuzz recorded a 6.06-second elapsed time in the first round. So have no fear, Fuzz belongs right here in round number 2 racing of funny cars at the Gatornationals. When we talk about elapsed time, that's the amount of time it takes to travel a quarter of a mile from a standing start, 1,320 feet. Fiberglass body covering the tubular chassis on Gordy Bonnin's car. He's got a good lead off the starting line over Fuzz Miller. And it's Gordy Bonnin with the win, 6.16 at over 242 miles an hour. His nickname is 240 Gordy, and he lived up to it here. This is the War Eagle of Dale Poldy and Mike Hamby. And there's apparently no other car in the other lane. He is supposed to be racing Dale Armstrong. We don't know where Armstrong is. It could be a big break for Poldy. We'll attempt to find out what's happened with Dale Armstrong. Right now, Steve's caught up with Gordy Bonnin.
Gordy Bonnin, your elapsed time slows up. You still get the win right. Is the track the same? Is it going away?
No, it's going away a little, Steve. It's I don't think we'll see another 5 unless somebody gets lucky out here. It's we ran 16, I think. Yeah. It shook real bad in the middle, so it's balling up and it's getting a little bit loose. We got to take some more clutch out of it.
So the mechanics can compensate for that in the clutch department, let more horsepower evaporate through the clutch?
Yeah, that's where it's at. But we haven't changed the motor all weekend. It's just we've been playing with the clutch, and I think we're getting closer, but we won't see another 5, I don't think, today.
Okay, good luck, Gordy.
Thanks, Steve.
Gordy Bonnin and his crew now heading back into the pits to get their car ready to go. And that's what happened with Dale Armstrong. He wasn't ready. Some mechanical problems set in for the Speed Racer car. They were unable to make the call. It's a single for Dale Poldy. He shuts it off as he smokes the tires right off the starting line. And you say, oh, what a waste. But not to Dale Poldy, because he learned that he's got to make some changes. He'll be going against Trip Shoemake in the semifinals as Gordy Bonnin matches up up against Kenny Bernstein. Boldy heading back to the pits where Steve Evans filed a report earlier this week.
As the fans tour the exciting pit area here at the Gator Nationals, the first thing that attracts their attention is what I call Semi-City. There's 4 times the number of 18-wheel transporters here than we saw last year. As the pressure of competition intensifies and the race cars become more exotic, it takes more parts and facilities to be truly competitive. These are complete rolling garages, spare motors, and the necessary hoists to make an instant engine change, machining capabilities, welding equipment, and onboard water, air, and fuel, and the room to work inside if the weather turns bad. And as the crew checks the nitro in the tank, Boston Funny Car driver Al Segrini relaxes in his little oasis here over a friendly game of cards with an even friendlier television announcer. Now, if I could just win a hand.
Jen.
Where are you going?
Over to Bradley's. Trail to use a jacuzzi.
Jacuzzi?
That's right, Steve, jacuzzi. You cover the mechanical end. I'll take a look at the color TVs, the microwaves, the refrigerators. Maybe someday you'll get a chance to see what it's like. Back at the NHRA Gatornationals in Gainesville, Florida, I'm Dave McClelland along with Steve Evans, and what you're looking at is the world's fastest truck. Bob Mott's behind the wheel of the conventional Kenworth with a sleeper cab, of course, but it's powered by a J59 General Electric jet engine from a B-58 bomber. Bob Motts has over 17,000 pounds of thrust at his disposal, while the starting line crew member holds on to the Christmas tree to keep it from being blown over. The smoke starts out the stack, and away goes Motts. The fire and thunder of the jet engine as Motts brings the Kenworth to a halt from a speed of nearly 150 miles an hour. Incredible. A jet engine and a Kenworth tractor at nearly 150 miles an hour. How about over 150 on 2 wheels? This is the motorcycle proudly bearing the big number 1, indicating Terry Vance rode his Suzuki to the national title in Pro Stock Bike last season. Earlier, he tried to back up the national record that he had established in previous competition here at the Gator Nationals. He's racing against Joe Folgore, who red-lighted away his chance for the win, and back it up he did. In fact, the quickest time ever for Terry Vance.
This is Terry Vance, and as of a few minutes ago, he is the world's fastest pro stock motorcycle rider. Congratulations, Terry.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. I'll tell you, they think drag racing only lasts for 7 or 8 seconds, but I'll tell you, I'll be pounding inside for a month.
8.68, those are pro stock car times.
Well, it's pretty fast, I'll tell you, but the track is just superb. They scraped it last night and resurfaced the starting line, and man, it's perfect.
Did you have any idea you could run that quick coming here?
Well, you know, we always hope we could run quicker, but I feel that the bike's got plenty of potential. We just got to squeeze it out.
That set it up for the final between Terry Vance and Superbike Mike Keat out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. All the fans here in Gainesville rooting away for Superbike Mike, but he's going to have a tough competitor with Terry Vance. Not only is the national champion, but he has seen that outstanding 862 just a round earlier, and look at Terry Vance pull away. Terry Vance wins it, your Pro Stock Bike champion. While we've been concentrating on the coverage of the excitement in the professional categories of championship drag racing, a lot more has gone on here at the Gator Nationals. Let's take a look right now at the winners in the sportsman categories of competition. In stock eliminator, driving his station wagon from Chicopee, Massachusetts, W.A. Lee defeated Joe Moore, marking his first ever national event victory. Superstock Racing saw a single for the final as Jerry Dick won approximately $8,500, his first ever win. His competition, Sunny Ray, was broken. Here's a happy crew, Mike Cannon's crew, taking the win by a big break as Don Bowles red-lighted away his chance. Cannon was broken on the starting line in modified eliminator worth about $10,000. Competition eliminator, the 23 Ford Roadster of Bob Newberry, defeating Larry Kopp in the final. The win worth approximately $10,000 to Bob Newberry. The top of the line in sportsman racing is alcohol funny car and alcohol dragsters. They have been separated out of the Pro Comp category where last season they ran side by side to where now all the funny cars run together and all the dragsters run together. This is the final for funny car Ken Veeney in the near lane against Bob Gottschalk in the far lane. This is Gottschalk's first final round appearance for Ken Veeney. He's been there a lot of times before, in fact, 8 of them. And Ken Veeney streaking for the win, making it his 9th national event victory, about $9,200 richer. The top alcohol funny car champion is Ken Veeney. The alcohol dragster final saw Joe Amato against Chet Ricard. Here's Ricard from Honesdale, Pennsylvania. Joe Amato also from Pennsylvania. He's been in the winner's circle twice at NHRA championship events and one time came in the Pro Comp finals here at the Gatornationals when he won the '79 event. Ricard also a former national champion, having won the Summer Nationals a couple of years ago. A lot of pressure here in the final round, and Joe Amato losing control off the starting line. It appears that Ricard won the race, but not so. At the starting line, the big red light is glowing, indicating that Chet Ricard was disqualified. The NHRA Gatornationals in Gainesville, Florida, we're ready for the semifinal round of Funny Car Eliminator as Trip Shoemake heats up the tires on Johnny Loper's little horse. Right alongside of him is Dale Baldy in the War Eagle. The burnout is a very critical move for all race cars in drag racing. The tires designed to operate at the hottest temperature possible, and the way they get them hot is to literally burn them. They get them smoking, they get them spinning, and it provides the traction for the high horsepower engines to get these cars down the racetrack in the quickest possible elapsed time. Dale Baldy coming in the far lane of the track against Trip Shoemake. We saw Shoemake earlier just as pleased as he could be with his big upset win over the world champion Raymond Beadle in the Blue Max, but he's got a tough one on his hands here in the War Eagle. And you can see at the middle of the course it is Dale Baldy beginning to pull it out, and he does. It is Dale Baldy, 6:33, 223 miles an hour, not the quickest, but enough to get him into the finals. As we watch again, you'll see Baldy and Shoemake basically side by side for the first few hundred feet, and then in the middle it is Baldy all the way.
Dale Baldy with a sigh of relief. All weekend long, everybody's been talking about the 5-second funny cars, the number 1 qualifier, the number 2 qualifier, and waiting silently and sneakily in the middle of the pack was the War Eagle.
Yeah, I think we had a 5 in the car, and we had it in during the qualifying, but the car wasn't hurting any parts. And I think we'd just rather have it consistent throughout the eliminations and stuff and see if we can get by that way, because usually the real quick qualifying cars, with a few exceptions, don't end up winning the races. It's usually the consistent cars that win the race.
And we'll find out who's the most consistent of this pair as Gordy Bonin comes up against Kenny Bernstein. Bernstein with a big break in the previous round as he smoked the tires off the starting line, but won the race as Don Prudhomme crossed the center line. He smokes it again, but this time it is Gordy Bonin straight and true through the quarter mile. A fine 6.12. You remember Steve talked to Gordy. He said they were going to work on it a little bit. They did. It went quicker. 6.12 for Gordy Bonin to put him in the finals, and he's got to be favored over Dale Baldy, who recorded an elapsed time of 6.33 seconds right here in the semifinals. You see Bernstein completely out of shape. Bonin heading straight down the track. They'll be ready for the finals in just a few moments. Top Fuel semifinals. Jody Smart from San Antonio, Texas. He owns a speed equipment warehouse in San Antonio. Had been in drag racing many years ago, teamed up with partner J.E. Christic, and has fielded one of the premier top fuel racers in the past few seasons. Across from him, patiently waits Butch Osmond, a former pro comp racer, moving up to top fuel this season, driving for Jim and Allison Lee. And smoking the tires is Osmond and Jody Smart, all over his lane, but he stays there and wins the race, 5.93 seconds. His speed, 239 miles an hour. As we watch again, you see the tire smoke right there, and that basically is what put Butch Osmond out of competition as Jody Smart pulled ahead for the last few hundred feet and won it.
I think this usually mild-mannered Texan is going to be a little more excited as he goes into his first ever final round at an NHRA national event. Jody, beautiful pass.
Thank you, Steve. I am excited. We just wanted to qualify and run hard, and it's paid off. It's been real steady. It's a little loose on that run, though. It was loose in the middle and had a little trouble driving it, but we're happy. We'll go to the final any way we can get it.
Back up in the starting line right now. In fact, we can hear him. Is Shirley Muldowney and Dave Settles. Who would you prefer to have win this race and be your final round opponent?
Shirley. I'd rather run the world champion than anyone, because if you can beat them, you can really put a feather in your hat.
Well, Dave, I'd say that's the competitive spirit, huh, from Jody Smart. Let's find out who he will race.
Steve will know in just a few seconds as Shirley Muldowney and Dave Settles have completed their burnouts. They're approaching the staging beams. We'll know the finalists in just about 6 seconds. Shirley coming into the staging beam last. The tree's green, they're off together. And Dave Settles, something going wrong with the engine, and Shirley pulls away. It'll be Shirley Muldowney against Jody Smart. And the wheel comes off Dave Settles' car. You're closer, Steve. What's it look like from there?
As Dave Settles comes by us, Dave McClellan, he is missing a left rear wheel. The car is sliding. You can see it's on a strange attitude. And here comes the tire coming right at us.
Steve, you look out, and there goes the tire across the turnout area and down into the ditch at Gainesville Raceway. The safety safari crew right on the scene immediately as Dave Settles' dragster, minus the left rear wheel. As you can see, it broke off right at the flange on the rear axle housing, and Dave Settles, a very lucky man indeed. As the rapidly approaching twilight spreads over Gainesville Raceway here in Gainesville, Florida, the NHRA crew has moved the finalists into the staging lanes, and we're ready for the Pro Stock Finals. Frank Iaconio against Pat Busey. Iaconio is noted as one of the best drivers in Pro Stock. We asked Pat Busey, can you beat him?
I feel I did good. I feel one of the best drivers, too, was Shepard, and I left on it.
So Pat Busey feels he can leave on Frank Iaconio. We'll have to see. By leave, that means get just a little bit of advantage off the starting line. It's a pair of Chevrolets in the Pro Stock Final, and he beat him off the line, but he did it at the cost of the race as a red light for Pat Busey gives the win automatically to Frank Iaconio. Back on the starting line, the big red bulb, that tells you right off that Iaconio wins at 8.39 seconds his time at over 161 miles an hour. The final pair of funny cars. It's been almost a week here at Gainesville Raceway to lead to this moment for two of the top drivers in the sport. The War Eagle of Mike Hamby, car owner, the partner and driver, Dale Poldy. He is racing against Gordy Bonin. And this, if tradition holds true, is Gordy Bonin's lucky year. He's made it to the finals, and he seems to always do well at the Gatornationals in odd number years. He won it in 77, he won it again in 1979, and here, under the capable direction of his crew chief, Jerry Verheul, Gordy Bonin is pulling into the staging beams for the final in the odd number year of 1981. Will it hold true? We'll know in just a moment. Dale Boldy is going to try to break that string. Let's see if he can do it. And a great lead by Dale Boldy. Bonin out off to the side. They're side by side. It's anybody's race, and it's Gordy Bonnin pulling it out in the last few feet at over 241 miles an hour. Gordy Bonnin wins his third Gator Nationals title. As they came off the starting line, it appeared Dale Paulding had almost a car-length advantage. You see, inch by inch, Gordy Bonnin making it up, and there by a wheel length is the win to Gordy Bonnin over Dale Paulding.
Well, this will make the folks happy in Edmonton and Calgary, Canada. Congratulations. A great race.
Boy, was that a close race. I saw him right to the last light.
A 6:18 to a 6:21. Your top end charge paid off that time, 240 something.
No doubt about it. I mean, we got out there and got over on the side and started shaking like we've been doing all day. And like we told you, it's a little slippery over on the side. And that's when I saw him in front of us, and then we just caught him at the other end.
Okay, Top Fuel is on the line. Congratulations, Gordy Bonnin. This is your third Gator Nationals win.
Now we can ride the motorcycle home.
And a great effort, too, on the part of Dale Paulding, who comes in here to congratulate Gordy Bonnin. What a race.
In addition to over $14,000 in prize money, Gordy Bonnin will be riding a brand new 1981 Suzuki GS 1100 motorcycle worth some $4,000 for his big funny car win. Shirley Muldowney, the two-time world champion, one of the top drivers in the sport, against Jody Smart, first time ever into an NHRA national event final. Earlier, we asked Jody, can he beat Shirley on the lights?
I think so. I've run her 3 times in the finals of other races and twice in the semifinals. And,
what's the score?
0. She's outrun us every time.
Shirley, considered by many as the premier dragster driver of today, against Jody Smart. Jody hoping to get into the win column at least once, and what a big one it would be, worth over $15,500. The winner of Top Fuel Eliminator at the Gator Nationals will know in just a couple of seconds because they're leaving the line. And it's Jody Smart alongside of Shirley Muldowney, and a tremendous race. Shirley Muldowney wins it, and by doing so, she moves into the lead of the World Championship points chase. Her time, 5.81 seconds, a brilliant 247 miles an hour. As we watch again, we see Shirley with just a little bit of advantage off the starting line, and she continues to move ahead foot by foot until at the finish line, Shirley Muldowney tops Jody Smart by just about a car length. Steve, I'll bet she's happy.
Shirley Muldowney getting some help from this great group of guys down here known as the turnaround crew. She says, what did it run? It doesn't matter what it ran. You won the race. World champion Shirley Muldowney finally nails down the Gator Nationals title. She's been trying to get for a half a dozen years anyway. A 581 to a 589. What a race.
Wow. I got to say hello to somebody, Steve.
Okay, Shirley. Jody Smart certainly can be very, very proud. Come over here, you two, of his final round performance. Everybody was worried about that left-hand lane, but after watching the funny car final, there was nothing wrong with that left-hand lane at all.
Not at all. Obviously, he was right there. I'm watching him and watching him. I didn't know what to do.
You can't say anything, but they just ran real fast all weekend. One of the finest performances anybody's ever had. She's the world champion for a good reason.
She sure, and a big top-end charge that your crew built into this motor helped out, 247.
Dynamite, good. We didn't get that record from Garlitz yet.
Well, I think we have a mutual admiration society down here, Dave. 2 great races and 2 super people to have in this wonderful sport of NHRA drag racing. Shirley Muldowney and Jody Smart. You'd think Jody Smart won the race, but indeed it was Shirley Muldowney taking home her first Gator Nationals Top Fuel title.
Our congratulations to Shirley and to the other professional winners, Gordy Bonnin and Frank Iaconio. We'll be back in just a moment with some final thoughts on the Gator Nationals. Not all the history was made on the racetrack this weekend. A record-breaking crowd viewed this year's running of the Gator Nationals. Early in today's program, Shirley Muldowney said this would be one of the great drag races of all time, and there is no question about it, she's right. If you liked what you saw today, be sure to be with us when the Diamond P Sports cameras travel next to Atlanta, Georgia for the coverage of the inaugural running of the NHRA Southern Nationals. The next stop on the tour will be Columbus, Ohio, and the NHRA Spring Nationals. Then it's on to Indianapolis, Indiana for the granddaddy of them all, the U.S. Nationals. Be sure to be with us. This is Dave McClellan for Steve Evans saying so long from Gainesville.